Hey guys, welcome to lesson number 3 of this course about how to play chess from complete beginner to club player. Today we are going to work with basic mates. This means that you're going to learn how to win, for example, once you have a king and a queen versus a king. So the idea is that we are going to cover the 3 most important basic mates. I'm talking about king and queen versus king, king and 2 rooks versus king, and king and 1 rook versus king. In each mate, I will tell you, first of all, the general idea, secondly, how's the plan to get that on the board, and finally, I will play it against the computer as I explain every move, so you can actually see how is the mate on the board. That being said, let's get down to business. This is the first position, king and queen versus king. The plan here is going to be, we need to push the king to the edge of the board, and once we have the king on the edge of the board, we will be able to create a checkmate position. Okay, but how do we push the king to the edge of the board? It's actually not too complicated. We are going to use our queen, and we're going to move it on L shape or L distance from the king. As long as we are moving the queen on L distance from the king is going to be forced to go toward the edge of the board. Once the king is on the edge, we are going to use our king. We're going to bring our king to the area where the enemy king is, and we are going to create a checkmate position with the king and the queen. So finally, let's play this on the board so you can actually see the idea with moves. So, well, here I cannot do a DL shape thing with my queen directly. So usually it's going to be a very good idea to cut off the king. Like, for example, I'm planning to push the king over this edge of the board maybe. So I think it makes sense to make sure the king is not escaping over the other side. So a move getting that is going to be queen c3 because I'm controlling all these squares, and then I start, cutting off and pushing the king where I want. So queen c3 looks fine. Let's see what they play. They are playing king f5, and now we are able to do the L shape plan. We can move our queen, for example, here or here. I think either way is going to be fine. So let's play queen here. Do you see L shape from the enemy king? Well, he goes here, and now I'm going to do a symmetrical move. Like he moves over there, I'm going to move the same way, and this is going to be enough. Like he goes over there. Well, that's part of the plan. I'm in L shape distance, but I can still play the same symmetrical move he did, like a mirror maybe, and we are good. And now the king is already on the edge. That's very good. That's exactly what we needed. Now we do the L shape one last time, and then we are cutting off the enemy king. So that's just perfect. Once the king is on the edge, we said that we are going to need our king to create a checkmate position. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to bring my king to the right area. And it's a good idea if you can move, over the same file where the king is. It's going to help a lot. So you're always going to be around, and it's going to be shorter if we do it that way. Like always in front. And now we have checkmate in one move. It can be, for example, like queen c7, also queen a8 is checkmate in one. So that's how we do the basic mate with king and queen. So let's see how to give checkmate with king and 2 rooks versus king. The idea this time is that you're going to use the rooks to push the king to the edge of the board again. And well, there is a difference, and it is that to create the checkmate position, we won't need the king. So the king is not really essential in this mate. We're not really going to use it in general, unless some very specific position. We are not going to move the king when we are giving the mate with the 2 rooks. The question, how to push the king to the edge of the board? Well, with 1 rook, you're going to control one line. As you know, the rooks are very powerful. They control many squares. So once you bring the other rook, the king will be forced to go over the edge of the board because you are controlling all these squares with your rooks. And then you can repeat that loop, always controlling one more line with the rooks, and it's always going to force the king to the edge. So let's see this with moves. I will play it against the engine. So first move, again, we cut off the king. We make sure that the king does not escape over here if we are planning to push the king over this edge, over the 8th rank. So rook a4 looks like a really nice idea. He's going toward the edge on his own. So I'm controlling this rank. I'm planning to control the next rank with the other rook. So I'm playing like rook here. And then, you know, my rooks are in perfect position. He's attacking my rook now. So usually this is the moment where we bring the other rook to control the next rank. As we are already controlling the 5th, we should try to control the 6th. But right now my rook is threatened. So if I do that, I'm going to lose one rook. So I need to solve the problem of the rook. When this happens, your king attacking the enemy king attacking the rook, we're going to change the position of the rook. I mean, the rook can move many squares and the king can move only one. So we just go to the other side and we are still controlling everything, but very far from the king. So like rook here, as far as possible from the king. Observe that I didn't say rook here because I'm planning to bring the rook from a4 to a6. So that doesn't make sense. I will be blocking the other rook. So just rook here. And this is just perfect. We are good. We continue with our plan. Well, we are controlling this rank. So we need to control the next rank with the other rook. So this is more or less clear. Rook here. And again, we need to control, we are controlling 6. We need to control 7s with the other rook. So we just play rook here. And now it's checkmate in one move. We are going to use the rook from the 6th. And it's going to be checkmate. And finally, we are going to learn basic mate with king and rook. One rook versus the enemy king. The idea here is that we're going to push the king to the edge of the board and then we're going to create a checkmate position. One more time, that's the general plan. And again, the question, how are we gonna get that? How are we going to be able to force the enemy king to go to the edge of the board? Well, we are going to use the king and the rook. This time we need both of them from the beginning. And the idea is that we are going to control the squares in front of the enemy king with our king, like for example from e2, let's say, just to show you the idea. And then we are going to give the check with the rook, where we are going to control the other 3 squares on the next rank. So we will be forcing black king to advance to the edge of the board. And we're going to repeat this plan as many times as we need until the king is on the edge, and then we are going to have a checkmate position at some point. So let's see this on the board. The first thing, as we usually do, is going to be cut off the king. If we are pushing over here, over this edge, we need to make sure the king does not escape over the other direction. So we just move the rook over here, controlling those squares. So rook here is going to be perfect. Let's see what they play. They are moving the king on the 4th rank. So we are going to use our king to control the squares in front of that king. And once we get that, we are going to be able to give the right check. So for example, we bring the king a little and we bring it a little more. And then, well, the king goes back. That's not a big problem. We just continue advancing with our king. And here, well, something interesting. Our king is not in front, but we can already get one more rank. So we can take one more line here. And then that's exactly what we need. The king is like, the king has less space to move. That's a good thing. Well, he's attacking our rook. As we did in king and 2 rooks versus king, we are going to move the rook as far as possible, but still controlling the same rank. So like rook here is going to be very well. And this is a good moment to bring our king. Because if he goes here, exactly, that's exactly what we needed. In this position, our king is controlling these squares in front of the enemy king. That means this is a good moment to give the check, because then we are controlling the next 3 squares and the king will be forced to go back. So we can give the check with the rook. Now we're going to repeat this plan as many times as we need. Like he goes here and then let's go here. So if he comes back, we are ready to give the check. Well, he doesn't come back, probably the best option, but we can still follow the king and try to make him, go in front of our king. This is the right moment. We are controlling these squares. So this is the right moment to give the check and force the king one line behind. And well, he goes there. Let's go here to make him play something like this. That should be a good idea. Okay, so he's trying to escape, which is making a lot of sense, but we can still follow the king. Now they come back, and this is good. We are controlling the squares, so we are ready to give the check and control one more rank. Now the king is on the edge of the board, so that will be mate very soon. Let's play king here, and let's see if he wants to play that. Of course he doesn't, but we can still follow the king. He's attacking our rook. We go as far as possible over the other side of the board. We already saw this. And, well, we should not go here, because if we do that, they are going to move, of course. And then we don't have what we need. So this is a very interesting moment. Here we are going to do something we call making a tempo. So we don't want to go in front of the enemy king. We want the enemy king to come in front of our king. So I'm just making a tempo with the rook, still controlling the rank. And, well, they go there, and now we can follow the king. And we continue following the king. They must come back, and then we will have checkmate very soon. So let's see this. King here, king there. We are controlling the 3 squares with our king, so we are ready to give checkmate with our rook. So this is how you win your games once you have a queen, 2 rooks, or even 1 rook. There will be a link in the description below so you can practice these basic mates. If you guys have any question, let me know in the comments. In the next lesson, we're going to work with 5 vital principal concepts and positions for the endgame. The link is going to be over here once this lesson is uploaded. Thank you so much, guys. Like, subscribe. See you on the next.